Okay, we'll call the meeting of the North Hero Cemetery Commission to order on May 27th at 5 p.m. This is an in-person meeting only, North Hero Town Community Hall, upper level on Route 2.
We're on Zoom though,
Um,
just so you know.
Well,
So you probably should
Well,
pay
we-
attention.
we aren't. I asked about that.
Okay.
She said, I asked that because it said it was a Zoom thing, but
Yep.
it's not Zoomable for anybody.
Anybody
to add
else,
to, I
okay.
guess.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay, so we got our agenda here. Looks like everyone's present. Adjustments to the agenda. The second thing down are just the financials. Got that the other day. And I think the only thing worthy of note on there, our cemetery CD has 75,581.57 in it. And we have $20,085.23 left, and the fences have all been paid. So that is our surplus at this point, and we're near the end of the fiscal year. The second page of it is kind of a breakdown of, how things are going. I got an email from Lisa. She just said a couple of notes about the budget. Computer managed services will be over budget due to the change in IT vendors. May and June invoices not yet received, so there'll be more taking out. And the cemetery supplies line is for the bronze veteran grave markers and a card reader for the camera. That was for Mary. And the cemetery new improvements line, which is way down in the bottom of the second page, is for the work White's Fence did last summer and last week. So remember, he added the gate, I think, and so that's, the reconciling of those budgets. And our cemetery CD matures on 7/24. So, and at that time, I guess, I think we voted on that last time. I can't remember to renew at whatever the best rate was, but
Yeah.
we may want to consider pulling some money out like we did originally.
Yeah, to determine to reinvest or hold off access funds for the columbarium project.
Yeah.
So we didn't vote on it, but
Seems like the columbarium project is, there's a lot of parts to it, and there's a lot of things we don't know. And it appears there's a lot of different variations of what you can get. And, Tracy and I have been talking about it, and, we want to make sure we do it right and get what we're going to really look for. The cheapest isn't always the best. And, so there's issues such as being able to get in and out of these things, like if two people pass, first person passes, then that means that niche has to be reopened. And I'm not sure how everybody deals with that. I know I talked to Kevin Ramo at Plouffe on whatever he was selling, and there's a way to get into it that would be accessible to us. I'm not real sure that we want to be even involved in that end of it. It might be something where we pay to have it done and then get reimbursed like we do in corner pens. So those are all things that our group will have to discuss when we get closer to that. But so that's the financials. Anybody have any questions? And then the other thing, adjustments to the agenda, Tracy and I dealt with Japanese knotweed to hide, and I've done some research on it. It's wicked hard to get rid of. You can cut it, and the cutting does knock it down, but it won't eliminate it. And they say Roundup or something similar or stronger in the late fall is the way to do it. Apparently the plant at some point in its lifetime, when it's early growing, it puts all of its nutrients into the new growth going up. In the fall, it takes that back and all the nutrients go down into the root, and the canes die off, and then they stay there, and then the new growth comes up the following year, and the canes stay there. So that's where the impenetrable comes in. So probably this fall, you know, we can go over with some Roundup, or we may wanna even consider hiring somebody, but, you know, I've got Roundup at the house, and I think, you know, C's house just in that one spot, give it a pretty good.
And if he keeps knocking it down, I think he just thought it was a plant.
Yeah,
So we didn't wanna, because it looks pretty. I mean,
yeah, it's a
you
pretty
know,
plant.
waxy, reddish,
Yeah.
so.
It was pretty good, so.
Was that planted? By someone?
It has been there for a long time. At one point, it was growing everywhere, right in that, like a, I don't know, 8x8 section. Wow. It had invaded a couple of stones and so.
You know, I think, you know, the cutting does keep it back, you know, it's like you do that to poison ivy and, you know, it does retard it, but it won't totally get rid of it. Hey, any questions on the financials? You know, I'd say we're in good shape. We've still got $95,000 plus, and we've done a lot of work in the last 2 years. You know, with our fencing, and fence looks great. Next thing is the old business, accept minutes from the April 8th.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from April 8th, 2025.
I'll second it.
In favor? Opposed? Passed? Taken care of. So now for new business, discussion on filling our cemetery board vacancy. Just in the interest of transparency and everything else, I'll explain how it all kind of came about. April 8th, Bob resigned, could no longer be a part of the board. Shortly after, it was advertised, I know, on the thing that you wrote.
It's in the Islander and it was also on Front Porch Forum.
Yeah.
Sure that.
Yeah. So, you know, it went through social media and in a couple of different fronts on more than one occasion. And we talked one-on-one about, you know, who we could get. Nick Boyd came up. He would have been a great, you know, attribute for our group. But unfortunately, when we checked in on it, you have to be a resident because it's an elected position. And, you know, there were a few other people that were discussing all that. A few of us discussed Jimmy Tudhope. You know, I didn't think he would do it, but, you know, he was discussed. And then on the 12th of May, Joanne Tier called me at the house at night, and she said that if no one else couldn't get anybody to do it, she said she would like to be a member. And, you know, initially, we didn't have anybody at that time, so I thought it was, you know, she would have made a great addition to our group, mostly for, you know, her knowledge of the town, and which would be quite an asset because, you know, that's the piece that, you know, no matter how hard I try, I can't come up with any of that stuff. And, you know, if you were gone, we'd be in trouble. But yeah, so anyway, then it came about on the 22nd. We got word that Jimmy Tudhope did want to be part of the board. So that night I called Joanne and I explained that there was more than one candidate. And she said, you know, she didn't want to run. So on the 22nd, we did get a letter, which is included in your packet, from Jim Tudhope, which was the only letter that we received for interest in being a member of our group. So with that in mind,
And I think protocol is you have to write a letter, right, for all these
yeah.
appointed positions.
So, you know, I guess I think Jim would make a great addition. You know, he's a North Hero native, been here almost as long as you have, probably. And, you know, he knows a lot about town and, you know.
He can read a tape measure.
And he can read a tape measure. Yeah, these are all things I'm getting real good at. Been busy the last few weeks. So it'll be good. I think he'll make a great addition, and I'm thrilled that, you know, he actually wanted to do it. known him for quite some time, and I know he had a family history of, you know, being on boards, not him, but I guess his dad.
Yeah.
So, you know, if somebody wants to make a motion, or is it something we need to discuss? I mean, I'm fine.
I'm good. Well, he'd be a wonderful addition.
Well,
Brings a good skill set.
why don't you make the motion then?
I will make a motion that we put forth James Tudhope to the select board for filling out the position of Broad Reno.
And it'll be the remainder
A 5-year term.
of a 5-year term. He'll have to run, he'll have to run though, it's only for the remainder of the year.
Right. for the remainder of-
So he'll have to be on the ballot. So, hopefully he'll like it and
Won't scare him.
won't be scared off, so,
Without working too hard.
no. Well, he's coming on like I. Yeah, Bob said, it's easy, you only have 2 to 3 meetings a year, and there isn't really much to do, so. You know, I said, boy, that sounds like the kind of board I'd like to be a member of.
How many times did you go out last week?
Almost every day, for one reason or another, it just kept coming in. So you made the motion that, and who wants to second it? Okay, Mike and second, all in favor? Opposed? So I've already talked to Corinne and I said, hopefully we would have the results of our candidate to be appointed, and we are on the ballot, on the agenda for the Monday night select board meeting. So, do you wanna go to that, or do you want me to go to it? All right,
Next door.
yeah, it'd be easy enough, and seeing as how you know the chairman, you probably
Get it in. Maybe we'll get moved to the front.
get it moved to the front, so you know, you don't have to miss supper. Okay, so I guess that's all that we have to do, and, is there anything else anybody needs to bring up? So, yep, we
You'd
can,
like to. I taking care of the cemetery, because it's been working on their, racing
yeah,
with the bad weather that we had.
Yeah.
Really above and
well, I've been talking them up to everybody, and, you know, every time I see them, I usually, you know, tell them thanks, they did a great job and all that. It's a hard job. And, when I see Carl, I'm always
Yeah.
telling him, you know, they're doing a good job. Very good. We've had good luck on the cemetery, I gotta say that, as far as them taking care of business. And one thing with Tracy, all I've gotta do is just mention, I've got a problem with something, and he's right on it. You know, never had him say no, so it's pretty good. So in view of that, I guess we can adjourn the meeting. 5:14. Quickest one on record.